Good evening. Welcome to a very special edition of Focus with Tim Thomas. I am your host, Tim Thomas. We're glad you've joined us here for this edition of our program. We are at the beautiful Mahr Park here in the city of Madisonville. And in just a few minutes, we're going to be taking you on a tour to show you some of the things that are taking place here at Mahr Park. But I'm glad to have as our tour guides none other than the co-trustee of the Mahr Park here in Madisonville, Ms. Barbie Hunt. We're glad to have you, Barbie.
Thank you.
Glad to have you.
Thank you. Now I'm the co-trustee of not the park, but the trust
There you go.
that the Mahrs left to help to build this park. So I'm a partner with the city of Madisonville. The city owns the park and operates it, and the trust is developing all of the projects and programming that's going on at the park. So we're going to go see some of the partnership projects today.
We're looking forward to that. And joining us also, Mr. Frank Williams, who is the owner of Ron Johnson's and Associates, right?
That's correct.
I got that right. I did good. And not only that, but you're doing the engineering part of the phases here at the park.
That's correct. We're currently working on the second phase of the trail, and we completed the first phase, so it's a little over 9,000 feet total.
Wow, a lot going on and a lot to see here at the park. What can we expect to see, and what are some of the things that are taking place here at the park in the upcoming days?
We have a Facebook page, so like us on Facebook, Mahr Park. In October, we're having birding hikes, and we also have an amazing guy coming to speak about purple martins. We're developing both bluebird walk as well as purple martin homes. And then the wildest one that we have, we're pretty excited about this. We have a speaker who's nationally famous on bats. And it doesn't have anything to do with Halloween. It's November the 12th. But this lady is going to teach on the importance of bats. And we have, of course, it's a nature park, so we have bats, but we're going to start encouraging bats in the 40-acre woods because they add so much to the environment. And so she'll be here on November the 12th, and you can sign up on Facebook for any of these events.
Right. A lot of things taking place, and I know we're filming this just the day before the Regional Women's Club going to have something. Tell us about that.
The Women's Garden Club of Kentucky is meeting here for their regional meeting, and we have well over 50 women coming in from all across the state with and they're doing workshops and meetings. So this the Mahr home is a perfect setting for something like that because they're in such a beautiful environment and a historic home.
Right. Frank, you and I were talking about before we started the taping. We can just imagine Dr. Mahr and Mrs. Mahr here, and what they would see here. Can you imagine?
Absolutely, Tim. This is just a beautiful piece of property, and the city is so fortunate that Dr. and Mrs. Mahr were gracious enough to leave it to the city. The envision is to keep it as a nature park, as Barbie said, so even though we are putting in some asphalt walking trails, that's primarily for the ease of people to walk and run and enjoy, and not just walk on gravel or soft surfaces. So it will remain a nature park, and as you can see with the lake and the trees and the wildlife are just so abundant here, I'm just pleased to have a small part in it. It's a wonderful piece of property.
And it takes everybody together across the city to make this continue to be what it's been.
Absolutely, and we've had so many volunteers from the garden, the community garden down there, to we were able to work with our jail staff and the inmates. You'll see a little bit later, they constructed over 500 feet of boardwalk, so we got free labor for that, and they were absolutely thrilled to participate and did a great job. So you are correct, it's a community project.
And that's what it's all about. Working together to preserve what Dr. and Mrs. Mahr really had in their vision.
Yes, and more.
Yes.
I think we're already at the point Glenwood said, "Oh my gosh, I didn't dream of that." She'd be so happy with what we've done so far, and one of the dreams is to see this become a destination, not just a place where we have events, but a place you would want to come because there's so much to see.
Yes. Yes. Well, we're looking forward to the tour and going out and kind of seeing what's out in there on the grounds. So we're going to proceed to that. Okay. All right, we're on our first stop of this tour. Kind of tell us where we are now, where we're headed.
We're at the top of the hill. Really, this is the highest point in Madisonville.
Really?
Yes, we're equal to the top of Trover Tower right here.
Wow.
I know. I watched the eclipse from here so we can see it longer.
Yeah.
This is going to be a parking lot. It comes right, it's the first left turn off of the main road as you come into Mahr Park. And you'll be able to park here and get on the trail right here. This will be the trailhead that sends you down the hill and all the way around toward the home, the barns, and then you could walk back up or run or bike the road, and you'll be able to connect right back here. So it will be a great big circle when it's completely finished.
Wow. And this is going to take us, and we're going to get out when we get on further down.
Yes,
where
we'll
we
go
are.
look at it.
But this is the top of the peak, so to speak.
Yes.
Wow. I wish I'd have known this when I was in high school.
It was Gleema's land. You couldn't get on it. There was no road to it.
All right. Frank, I see workers out here working, doing some things.
That's correct, Tim. Crown Contracting has the award for this project. They've done some of the excavation. They're installing the DGA. And, of course, the next thing will be the asphalt, but they're actually putting the DGA down with pavers. So it'll be nice and neat and rolled hard and clean and crisp shoulders, and they're doing a good job.
Great. All right.
You'll be the first ones to ride on it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So we're the first ones to ride on this.
That's right.
Yeah. That's kind of exciting.
They don't,
They're basically
gentleman with the ball cap on, that's Carl. He's the owner of Crown Contracting. Great gentleman, real conscientious. Wants it to look real pleasing to everybody. Wants to do a good job.
great.
They've got a beautiful day for this. So there'll be 6 inches of DGA, 6 inches of compacted gravel that you see them putting down now, and then there'll be 2 inches of asphalt on top of the compacted gravel. And then they're rolling it with this smooth drum roller to make sure that the DGA is compacted in there real tight, and the asphalt won't have any dents in it.
How many miles is this stretch?
This is 4,200, or excuse me, 4,200.
Is that we can do a 5K here at Mahr Park, so it'll be about a 3 mile all the way. The whole thing will be about a 3 mile circle.
This is 42. The first phase was 50. 700, so quite a ways.
It is. It is. All righty.
Kayak launch. We have more people kayaking in Madisonville than ever before because of Pee Wee Lake being such a beautiful lake and now so easily accessible. One of the projects that Frank is working on designing is the parking lot that will connect to the kayak launch. So that's another huge asset. Over to our left is the 40-acre woods. And you can see the edging of it all the way along here in the entrance. There's hiking trails throughout the woods. This summer we had an intern who wrote out the trail plans and all the highlights of the trail. So now we can have guided trail hikes as well as, of course, people can just go on their own. We have a birding group now that comes and leads people. If they've never done any birding, it's a wonderful hobby and it gets you outside and you start to see things you never saw before. Over 100 different species of birds have been sighted at Mahr Park. So we have a wonderful opportunity here to learn about things about nature that you didn't know about, that our community has never had before. Also, we have disc golf. You can see a disc hole right over here.
Yes.
We're passing and a tee box in front of us. This is an 18-hole professional level disc golf, and then we have a 3-par 9-hole on the other side of the park. So lots of opportunities to get out in nature, and that's one of the wonderful things about disc golf. You have to walk.
Yes.
And you get out and get to see the whole countryside.
Yes, I know with some of the meetings we've been talking about in our Friends of Mahr Park meetings, we've been talking about sculptors and kind of bringing that into fruition.
Yes, bringing the arts into the park is one of our goals and long-range plan. It was in the original discussion when we developed the in the park. This is the brochure that you get when you go to the Welcome Center, and it has on it the guiding principles, and one of them is to incorporate the arts throughout the park. So one of our goals would be to have native grasses and plants throughout the park and areas. For example, if you looked out here from here to the 40-acre woods, let's say we have this as pollinator area, and it has grasses and flowers growing in it, and a little path that takes you, a walking path that takes you to the opening into the woods, and along that would have some sculptures. We've been visiting sculpture parks and looking at how they manage them and what kind of issues that they have as we start to develop that. And we've worked a long time in Madisonville to develop sculptures in our community with the Community Improvement Foundation. And so the city owns quite a few, and so that project is easy to now carry on in the downtown as well as at the park.
I think it'd be such a great added feature to the park.
Two deputies, Mr. Billy Thomas and Mr. Duval, supervised the inmates. There were anywhere from 10 to 12 of them out here at all different times, and they brought their own tools and equipment, and we just supplied the lumber and gave them a little bit of instruction, and they took off and did a fabulous job. The boardwalks are both aesthetically pleasing and eliminate the need for culverts. We put all the boardwalks in low areas. Also makes a lot of sense. Makes it where you don't have to build big levees, and equipment doesn't have to run through it all the time. And again, it's just aesthetically pleasing. So we were really pleased with the way they turned out. Keep from it just being so monotonous. So there's 5 of them, and I think only one of them is straight, and it's a little short one. We also wanted to keep it low to the ground because if you get over 30 inches, then you have to have a handrail. So we didn't want the handrail to distract from it. So again, we just kind of followed the contours to make it aesthetically pleasing, ADA compliant. We did put the little bumper guards along the side, so you know, if somebody does want to come in a little scooter or wheelchair, you know, it does protect them from falling off in that respect. But they are ADA compliant as all the trail. The whole trail, if you have under a third of it being greater than a 5% grade, then it's classified as ADA compliant. So the whole trail is. Arlington and Greenville. I was at Greenville this morning. We're doing a third phase of their streetscape downtown as part of their beautification process. So, you know, engineering is just so exciting to be able to take a vision like what one Barbie has or Mrs. Mahr has, and then try and put it together, and then you come out and work with the contractors to make sure everything's done right, and then when it's finished, I get to bring my grandchildren out here and say, Poppy had a hand in that. Yeah. So that's awesome to me.
Well, I tell you, you're following in the footsteps of Ron Johnson. Good man. I'm telling you, he's well known, well liked.
He was. He that's one of the reasons I didn't change the name. I'm not that naive to know that he wasn't a very well respected and loved individual.
He was. He and me were very, very close friends.
So I'm pleased to just be involved out here. This is what I call one of those forever projects. It'll always be.
That's right. That's right.
So that's why we want it to be as perfect as we can make it.
Well, I know you're working to that end. Hey, we also have riding with us Donna Strickland. Hey, Miss Donna.
Hi, Tim. How are you?
I'm good. And you kind of help run things here, basically. What are your thoughts on the park?
Well, the park is amazing. It's amazing to be involved in something as beautiful as this, that we can all connect with nature, and to offer programming to the community that is not found in Madisonville. And you know what is another thing is amazing has been the partnership, this public-private partnership, and be involved. There are challenges, but it's very special when things come together. We can get so much more done for Madisonville, and Mahr Park is an example of that.
Right. As development coordinator, it is your job to kind of do just that, coordinate activities and that type of thing.
That's correct. Programming is a big part of my responsibilities. We have several very exciting programs coming up, as Barbie talked earlier, one about bats, one about purple martins. We have the birding program. We have the volunteer program is coming along well. We probably have 20 volunteers now, and that's growing. So that we're very excited about that.
Well, you have to have a love, I think, for this type of project.
Definitely. In fact, it's like I had a big career change 2 years ago, and I feel like that left a very lucrative career, not by choice, and always wanted to be involved in something with nature, birds, animals, plants, flora, fauna, and Barbie called me and said, gets me excited to think about, said, I'm developing a park in Madisonville, and I said, what do you know about parks?
She interviewed me.
Yeah, and so we met, and it was like, all right then, I'm in the most exciting position I've ever had in my life, and plus it's community involvement. I've never had that, and so I really enjoy meeting all of the players and people involved, and actually, if I didn't work here and didn't need a job, I'd volunteer here.
Yeah.
I'd be here. I'd be helping her.
Well, that didn't happen by accident. That's kind of the way the Lord works, isn't it?
I totally believe it. I mean, there's no accidents in God's kingdom.
That's right.
So
That's right.
we dream big. Barbie's taught me, we think big, we dream big, and it's hard for some people sometimes to keep up with us because we're never going to think small. When you think small, big things don't get done. So if you're dreaming big and like the vision that Barbie had for this trail, and Frank got on board with it, designed it, and it's going to be probably, I mean, there's beautiful trails in Madisonville, but I'm guessing it's going to be the prettiest trail in Hopkins County.
I would almost totally agree.
Yeah, it's a privilege to be a part of this.
Great. We're glad to have you along with us today.
Thank you.
Yeah. Barbie?
You know, it's been 7 years that we've been. I'm just sitting here getting hit again with the reality of, wow, how long it's taken to get to this point. But when I became a trustee of the Mahr estate and started thinking about not just what Glima would want, but what would the legacy that they deserve to be left with, because they weren't, I mean, they had a vision, but she didn't dictate. I would try to get her to talk about how will we do this and what will we do, and she'd go, "Oh, kid, you'll do fine." She wouldn't make those decisions. So here we are. The trust is in a very different position. We've done a lot of building. The road, the maintenance barn, the renovation of the Welcome Center have all been funded by the trust. Disc golf, the kayak launch. This project is a true partnership. Frank designed it, and the trust paid for that, and the trust paid for the wood for the boardwalks, and then the city has a grant with the Kentucky Trail Grant. So it's half paid by the trail grant and then half paid by the city. So this trail is a good example of a good partnership of developing the park. And where we go from here, I really believe that Donna's position is now, because she works for the trust and really has the big picture at heart, to involve people in the park. And that has to be partly programming and partly volunteers and partly fund development, because there's always more to do. And it can't just be government, and it can't just be the trust. And I believe people want to be involved and want to give back to their community.
Yes.
And so we've put enough infrastructure in place that now there's going to be opportunities to people give back and be a part of something as we grow and develop this park. So that is very exciting to see the future almost literally laid out before us,
Yes.
right here, because this is all the trail that we plan to put in. It's very unusual, really, to start with such a fine 10-foot wide asphalt trail throughout a park. The rest of it will be developed with a land plan that includes trees and native plants and all kinds of opportunities for pollinators. And we have a pollinator garden going in. That's our first project, that's 6 acres. But all of that will be ongoing. That never ends because it's nature. It's always changing.
Yes. And when we talk about the park itself, we have to go back and, of course, give kudos to former administration of Mayor Wilcox. This was obtained under his administration, and he speaks of it so often, how excited he was, talking to Ms. Mahr about this. And at that time.
Yes.
And it, followed on through Mayor Jackson's administration to help continue the development.
Yes. Mayor Jackson has been a good partner all along in developing the projects, and now, interestingly, Will is involved with the Extension Office as they're starting to develop a plan to be a part of the park and build future structures on the land. So we have a lot of partnerships that continue, and really the support of everybody has brought us to this point of seeing really the trails start to be finished, and now start to develop a land plan that's going to be an ongoing legacy projects.
Great. And as you said earlier, I do know that the Community Improvement Foundation is looking forward to partnering and being a part of the park
with the
as well.
sculpture projects.
Yeah.
We've got some good plans going for that.
Yeah, great. Frank?
Tim, I wanted to stop just at this one location because this is going to be an intersection of this main trail and what I call a little shortcut over to the parking lot. This is the kayak parking lot, and that's where a lot of people will come and park just because it's so scenic, being next to the lake. And if you did that in the past, or even after this trail got finished, if we didn't have this cut through, you'd have to walk and then come back. And a lot of people like to come out here for lunchtime. So there will be a little connection from this main trail over to the existing trail, very close to that parking lot. So you can come out here on lunch, walk basically parallel to the lake, and then enter some scenic woods and back to here and back to the parking lot. You could easily do that in 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and then hustle back to the office and get your exercise in.
Oh, that's great. That's great. A beautiful setup. Real setup for the people. And we're expecting, hundreds of people to be a part of this as it.
I have never been out here since that first trail has been completed that there hasn't been 2 or 3 people walking on it.
Really?
Never.
Wow.
I mean, I brought the kids, my grandkids out they rode their bicycles, or actually one rode a bicycle and I pushed the other one in a stroller. But that was 8 o'clock at night, and the place had several people. I won't say it's packed, but there was at least a dozen people walking it at 8 o'clock at night back during the summer.
That's great. Well, the word is continuing to get out, and people are taking advantage of this.
We'll move on down the trail.
All right.
This is one where we kind of made another switch back into the trail to keep from going off such a steep slope. You can see it meanders through the woods. And we also wanted to stay, we had an objective to stay 10 feet away from any of the trees so we didn't damage any of the roots. Tell me if it gets too bumpy. But the trail will come back. The flags are basically the trail. This area hasn't been excavated yet.
See they haven't even been here.
Yeah. Wow.
Which I think is really interesting. He's not doing that part first. He's doing one section and then another section.
That's drier.
Okay, gotcha.
And since he owns his own asphalt equipment, he said he may come in and lay some asphalt even before he gets this excavated, just so people they can have jobs of backfilling and get it all completed. So the trail will come up on this side of the trees and then go right down the side of this hill and connect to the existing asphalt trail that terminated right down here. And this is one of the most beautiful spots on the farm, really. I mean, if you come to this little knoll in the evening and see the sunset over the lake, it's absolutely gorgeous.
Wow.
The trail will just follow the lower side of the hill there.
What a beautiful view.
Isn't it? And you can see where we're going to connect right there.
Yes.
Gorgeous.
For those of you that may just be tuning in and wondering, like, what are they doing? What's going on? We are taking a tour of the Mahr Park here in the city of Madisonville, and we have with us Barbie Hunt and Frank Williams and Donna Strickland. And we're just been talking about some of the upcoming events as well as some of the developments of the park that is taking place here. And we just stopped here to view this scene here as we go through the park area. Barbie, how many, you may have stated this, but how many acres is this altogether?
265, but if you count it like often parks do, which includes the body of water, the lake is another 100. So it's a very large area since the city also owns Pee Wee Lake. And we have a huge amount of the land that's lakefront to the Pee Wee Lake.
And this trail will take us back to where now?
To the maintenance barn and even beyond.
Gotcha.
And just so your viewing audience knows, this is a trail. It was designed for a trail. This is the heaviest piece of equipment that we can take on it because it doesn't have the asphalt strength as a city street. So we've had a few issues with that, but it's made for trail and walking, and there are a couple places where tractors cross, and we've actually thickened up the asphalt for that.
And biking as well?
And for biking, that's correct. This is the kayak parking lot, and the kayak launch will be by it, but there's some layouts to expand this and also even provide some bus parking so school children can come out and enjoy the nature park. And we're basically just right in behind us is where that little cut through trail will terminate into this one, so they will be able to park and make their lunch walk or short walk.
Wow. Barbie? Okay. Yeah.
We'll pull up just a little bit so you can get the kayak launch. That's pretty awesome. That was, I guess, Barbie's, and I know Franco was involved in some, but this is actually a kayak launch that is handicap accessible and just a fabulous asset to the park.
like we got just one person just actually visiting and looking around. All right.
We'll start planting it so that it won't be mowed. It will be native plants that are just planted because of the water. And so they're very friendly to all the type of ground and water that's here. And it'll also be a pollinator area, so it'll have.
In 3 years, we'll have a pollinator garden that will attract butterflies and bees, and also it'll be a walking soft trail, and we'll probably put a sculpture or two in this area, so it'll be a destination, something you'll want to go see with lots of signage to explain what you're looking at. And also, because of where we're putting the bus parking, this will be a outdoor classroom basically. So teachers will want to come and bring their kids. It's, it'll be don't cross the bridge, and that 6 acres will be open for kids to learn about plants and pollinators and birds and all and art.
It's an educational experience for them.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we about covered everything.
Yeah, you'll see down here the creek on the left. She's going to have a bridge put in. Frank's going to design a bridge right down here.
Oh, is that right?
Yes. It'll be a nice way. You'll have to walk into the 6 acres.
The 6 acres is right through this little fence opening over here, and it butts right up against the lake, and then Lakeshore is on the right. Lakeshore subdivision.
Backs up to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Puts in perspective kind of where you're at now when you talk about that backing up the lake. Had a community garden out here as well.
This is the community garden. There was a whole bunch of people out here at 7 this morning to clean it up. So it's put to rest for the winter.
Had an opportunity to pick tomatoes out here.
A lot of tomatoes and corn, lots of vegetables.
It's the first wildlife I've seen, groundhog.
Groundhog.
And they're all very plump here.
We have happy groundhogs.
They're happy groundhogs. Yes. Yes.
Yes. Can you get that? Isn't that beautiful? Make pictures as well. Yeah.
Almost looks like Augusta National.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. Wow, I like that.
It's hand-laid sandstone, and the stone matches the maintenance building and also around the house up there. But the trail just terminates down there a couple hundred yards, and that there are plans, which I assume they're still going to go for a soft trail without the asphalt that also meanders through the woods. So people have their option of either walking on the asphalt, or people that want to do a little bit more strenuous walk can go through the woods, but they won't get their feet all muddy.
Great. We appreciate the opportunity of you showing us this. Know you're on a time schedule, but this has really been exciting. I'll have to tell Gina Munger more about this so she can get out here and do some still photography. We just finished taking a tour of the Mahr Park here in the city of Madisonville, and with our tour guides, Ms. Barbie Hunt, who is the co-trustee of the Mahr Park Estate, also Mr. Frank Williams, who is the owner of the Ron Johnson Associates, and is the engineer of all of this that's taking place here, he and his company, as well as Ms. Donna Strickland, who's the development coordinator. They've been showing us around, and we hope that you have enjoyed the program. We encourage you to take advantage of all the activities here at the Mahr Park. Please call the office. Donna will be glad to help you and be a part of what is taking place here. I'm your host, Tim Thomas. Thank you for joining us, and by all means, keep sharing the dream.